Okay. And oh, hi. It's me again on the floor. If you're new here, hi. I'm Jessica. I make videos about disability, chronic illness, LGBTQ+, history, parenting, and right now, some other times, I make videos from the floor. I was planning today on making a video about outfits I wear as a parent to newborn twins. No. The floor is where I must be. I'm very fluffy right now. Very fluffy. Changing clothes is just not in my wheelhouse. So instead, I thought I would talk a bit about being a parent with a chronic illness and what that's like. So kind of being a working parent with a chronic illness, because that is what I am. And there is a difference in having 3 children, whereas before we only had 1, and how I have to manage my time when I'm ill. Obviously, it all involves a lot of guilt. Everything involves guilt when you're a parent. It's that classic, oh, I feel guilty when I'm at the office and not with my child. And then I feel guilty when I'm with my child and not at the office. Just with the added level of some days I can't open my eyes. So what's actually up with me? Why am I on the floor? Very well. I know ceilings very well. I've seen a lot of ceilings in my life. As I lie here, I realize we have too many spotlights. I have 2 genetic disabilities. One of which affects my nerves, one of which affects my connective tissue, that gives me various other conditions that affect my heart and my organs and life. Chronic fatigue, that's a thing. I have chronic fatigue. I made a video about that. So I spent childhood being iller than everyone else, just sort of weaker, as anyone with a connective tissue disorder knows. We are incredible at the warm-up session in any gym class. After that, horrendous. And then when I was a teenager, 17 years of pushing myself too hard finally caught up with me, and I crashed out. I had to go to hospital, spent 2 years on bed rest. It wasn't the most fun I've ever had. But during that time, I really cemented what I wanted for my future, which was being able to still get married, have a family, have a job, just with all of this, dragging this body around with me. So here I am today, and I am married, I have a career, even though it's a job that I have to very explain to people multiple times, because what the hell is a YouTuber? The kids under 20 get it. Anyone else? Not so much. Not so much. It's awkward at the school gates. And I have 3 beautiful children, a 4-year-old and 2 4-month-olds. Being a parent with a chronic illness has actually a lot of plus points, things that people don't necessarily think about. I'm incredibly patient because I have spent a lot of time having to wait to get better, waiting for this migraine to go away. I'm very empathetic with any small people who are struggling to use their hands, might have difficulty getting their words out. I completely get it. I understand. Me too. When I was 17, I paralyzed both of my arms and I had to learn to use them again. When I am really tired, my hands just still don't work. And I have lots of ways around that. So when my 4-year-old is struggling to do something because his hands just haven't learnt it yet, I'm like, hey, no worries. I have all of these tips and tricks. I think another plus point would be having a really good emotional connection with my children. With my 4-year-old, he knows that sometimes I have to spend the day in bed and that he is welcome to come and see me, maybe read a book, or we could do a little sticker book, or he can just be near me. But we have this emotional bond, and he gets it, and he understands that sometimes when we're out and about, I might not be feeling great, and he's learnt that patience as well, of being able to just hang on, wait a moment. Do you need anything? For me, I don't think children should have to do anything for their parents. Like, we chose to have them, so it's our responsibility to look after them. But I think it is good to have empathy as a child and to have a sense of care and understanding, because then when he is out in the wild and he's meeting other people, he knows how to help others and he doesn't step back from a situation. I think it's actually better for the world to have children that can help the world rather than the much more nihilistic, don't have children, the world is ending. Apologies if things look a bit different now. The girls needed their nap time. If you can hear a rumble in the background, it is their Love to Dream noise machine. And before we actually talk more about the realities of parenting with a chronic illness and how much sometimes it does suck and what you can kind of do about that, let's discuss something else that you need in your life. Keep your personal data safe. Did you know that the number of personal data breaches rises worldwide every single year? According to the annual data breach report by the Identity Theft Resource Center, it went up by 211% from 2023 to 2024. It is honestly wild how our information ends up scattered all over the internet. Which is why I use Incogni, the sponsor of today's video. It's a service that tracks down and removes your personal data from multiple sites like online directories, people search websites, even commercial databases that buy and sell your information without asking. And because your data can reappear, Incogni keeps checking and then removes it every time it pops up. You can even use their custom removal feature to take down almost anything about you that's exposed online. Just send them a link and your dedicated privacy expert does the rest. Take your personal data back with Incogni. Just use code Jessica at the link below. That's incogni.com/Jessica to get 60% off an annual plan. So, while I'm taking care of my migraine and my children, Incogni is keeping me safe in the background. She's back. Hi. Is there a large patch of light next to me? Yes. Did I just take my pills, my afternoon pills, and now they're kind of stuck in my throat? Yes. Yeah, I know. It's one of those days. Please don't fall over on this rug. It is a washable rug though. It's from Ruggable. So where were we? Let's talk about the worst parts of being a parent with a chronic illness. Probably the biggest thing, although I don't think it's necessarily main issue, but the thing that crops up the most is going to be the guilt. As I said earlier, parenting is just innately made to make you feel guilty. If you don't feel guilt, are you even a parent? Guilty that you're not with your child at that very moment. Guilty that when you are with your child, are you doing something that's enriching them? But yeah, feeling guilty for not being as active or available as you would like. I struggle with forms of public transport. It takes so much energy out of me to manage like a bus timetable whilst also looking after a small person that it just isn't feasible. And we all have different ideas of energy and what takes different amounts of energy in our minds. And for some people, it's not a big deal to go somewhere with your child. And for me, it really is. I think there's also the time aspect, the time blindness, which is my ADHD. Didn't even mention that one at the top. But the difficulty of being like, oh, we actually have to be at this bus stop, at this specific time. We can't just walk along and discuss the different types of leaves that we see as we go. No, we must walk, and we must walk quickly to get there. And now the bus has gone. Oh, there won't be another half an hour? Boy, do we live on a bad bus route. Whereas when it's like, oh, I can get in a taxi, easier, expensive, but easier. But it does then limit us in terms of where we can go. Learning to drive. I am learning to drive. But I'm also aware that even when I can drive, there are going to be times where I won't be able to drive because I have a migraine or because I'm just really tired. And I need to think through, like, if I drive to a place in the car with the children, will I be safe enough to drive back? And that kind of scares me. But I like doing days out with Rupert. And the girls too, I guess. They don't really do days out. They mainly sleep in the buggy right now. They're 4.5 months out of the world, but they're 2.5 months adjusted. So their idea of a day out is pretty chill. But when we go out, it's much more like I need someone to take me to a place with my children, and then we enjoy the place, and then we come back. I can't manage logistics. And yes, there's guilt around that, and guilt around I wish I could take things off my wife's plate and so she didn't have to worry so much about things. Oy. I feel a lot of guilt as well that when people say, how do you do something? Like, how do you manage that? How do you manage being a mom who has disabilities and 3 children? I have a wife. Yeah, I mean, they have another mum who does stuff as well. So it's not all on me. And I am in no way advocating that it should be mums and wives who deal with things. Absolutely not. But I think so often the people who ask me these questions are the people who do not have wives and perhaps have a more uneven relationship dynamic. We are, I think, quite good at knowing our strengths and weaknesses, and so if there's something that I do particularly well, then I just do it. I do all of it. So I am good at managing emotional meltdowns, problems, so I do that. I'm very good with clothes. You can't tell. Children's clothes. It's me. I've got it. Just like items that they need. I've got it. Don't worry. Sorted. Educational things. Oh, I'm so on top of it. So, great. I could do it. Amazing. For some reason, really good at nappy changes. That's one of my skills. It's an odd skill. Not really going to put that on a CV, but it's one of my skills. But other things that I may struggle with, my wife happens to be really good at, and therefore that is her domain. So we balance things out and try and play to our strengths rather than thinking about our weaknesses. What does that make sense? Is that explaining? It's difficult to not compare yourself to healthy parents. Like, it's difficult to not compare yourself when you're not a disabled parent, right? Comparison is just the death of joy. And then the main thing to me is, and I've sort of said that the main thing was guilt. It's not. The guilt is just the thing that crops up the most frequently, but something that gets me a lot, I think, is the physical limitations of actually carrying around two babies. And I guess the physical limitation part for me that is the most difficult to live with is my hearing. So if I am in public with Rupert, if we are at a soft play, if we're just walking down the street, something like that, I cannot hear him. I do not know what he is saying. I don't know what's going on around us, and it can make me more scared. And I worry sometimes that my fear of I don't know if there's a car coming from behind us. I don't know if he's about to get jostled into. I can't hear if he's saying, like, ow, someone stood on me and it hurts. Means that I have that worry and I'm putting that worry onto him, and then he's holding that worry. He isn't currently afraid of being out in public, but he doesn't talk really in very busy environments. He doesn't speak when he's with me. He does with Claudia because she can hear him, but he doesn't speak when he's with me. And I can sign to him and that's fine, but he doesn't speak to other adults. If we bump into someone that we know and they start talking to him, he doesn't respond with his voice if I'm the only one there. And it's, I suppose, as if you're raising a child bilingually and they're with their parent who speaks French. They're going to speak French, even if they meet someone that normally they speak to in English. So instead they just don't talk. The way that I kind of combat being in public and not being able to hear him is picking him up, which is not very good for my body. It's not good for my back at all. But I find that if I pick him up, I can see his face, we can communicate much better, and I'm less worried about what's going on with him. So then he doesn't feel any worry at all because it's fine. I've got it. I know what's happening. It's all right. He's currently 4 and he's really quite big. He's the height of a 5-year-old. And it's very rapidly going to get to a point where I'm going to need him to start signing back in public or start speaking. Other than that, there's always the concern, worry about the... Other than that, there's always the concern, worry about the unpredictability. There's a certain unpredictability in having premature babies, in that we don't know where they are with their milestones and where they're supposed to be. So they have some of their milestones for 2.5 months and some for 4.5 months, and that's great. But we can't really plan, like, what will their milestones be like at Christmas? When will they be sitting up? When will they be in high chairs? We just don't know. And then also, I find it hard to plan sometimes with my body. We tend to just always go for the best. Always hope for the best. As planners, as a family of planners, people who plan, it does make life difficult when a body that really does require planning. I can't just on the fly after school be like, okay everyone, that's cool, we can just go to the park or not, because do we have enough food? I have to have like food that I can eat. Do we have medication? Am I warm enough? Am I not too warm? Do I have like a good level of comfort? I know I sound like a little princess, but it actually requires like a lot of just the after effects of being uncomfortable are generally migraines that last 3 days. So that is why I'm unwilling to be uncomfortable. Well, hello. Well, the meds kicked in and now we are outside. Still having a nap though, the girls are still asleep. It's just good fresh air in the semi-Scandinavian way that they're being raised. I don't know. I just know that it's very good for your babies to breathe in fresh air every day. So we try and do that. Moving on to things that suck. Other things that suck. The emotional turmoil, toil, the emotional stuff. The emotional stuff sucks. Chronic pain and fatigue can obviously worsen your feelings of loneliness, isolation, depression, anxiety, but it also makes you feel very alone and different, especially when it comes to things like parenting, things that are generally a common experience. And you sort of have to do things a certain way because there are external factors. I personally don't love the idea of reins on children, but I do know that many disabled parents use child reins due to their disabilities, and it's not something that they necessarily feel aligns with their parenting philosophy. It's not something that they would have chosen if it weren't for extenuating factors, but it's how they have to live. Maybe it's due to communication difficulties between you and the child, or maybe it's due to the fact that, you know what, if they run, you cannot run after them. I fortunately have a 4-year-old who has never been a runner. Bless him. I think he has his own extenuating factors there, but I could definitely still outrun him. So we're good. I can't outrun most toddlers, but I can still at least outrun my own child. So I've not had to deal with that danger, that aspect of it, of being like, if my child goes, I can't go after them, I have to grab them back. And then obviously there is a sense of shame because society at large tells you, hey, that's a terrible thing. My goodness, why would you do that? Why would you spend all day on the sofa with your child watching TV? That's horrendous. And you're like, well, it's because I was so ill that day. I was unable to move, and therefore this is how we entertained ourselves that day, and we still were together, we still spent time together. You don't need to come with judgment to something that I can't change. For me, I sometimes feel a difficulty in the sense of like, I can't take him somewhere, and I can't be a kind of like chill on the fly parent who just hangs out after school. I'm like, no, I can't really do that. I have to conserve my energy resources. And we really have to plan at the start of the week where I'm going to put my energy, because I have a certain amount of energy that I need to give to work in order to make money, to, you know, keep the whole family going, and a certain amount of energy that I need to give to my wife and to my children and to the maintenance of my home. As much fun as it is to be able to just say, yeah, cool, let's go and let's do something occasionally, that isn't really how I can live every day, because then the next day I would just crash. My guilt about my no-chill parenting, that, you know what, other parents who are also no-chill, I'm with you. Things have to be a way. They just do sometimes. Sorry, can't leave toys on the floor because I will trip over them and fall over and hurt myself. Also, let's be honest, when it comes to strained relationships, it can be difficult to both handle the relationships with people who question whether it's a good idea for you to even take the step into having children or having more children. Perhaps in a very well-meaning way, like they love you, they just don't believe in your abilities, which they definitely should, because you're amazing. Sometimes to feel like, yeah, actually, I guess they did have a valid point. Oh no, in your worst moments. But then obviously we all have worst moments. Non-disabled parents also have terrible moments where you think, oh my goodness, this was an awful idea. I shouldn't have done this. Or at least that's what Reddit tells me. I have no experience of being a non-disabled parent, but Reddit tells me that the non-disabled people also feel like this sometimes. The point is, it's okay to sometimes feel like, oh gosh, did I let myself in for too much? Oh gosh, was everyone right? And then to turn it around. Okay, where were we? I think for me, the biggest difference between having one child as a disabled parent and having 3 children as a disabled parent is that it used to be when I had ill days, like days where I was just like, oh no, sorry, nothing's happening. I need to just stay in bed today, incapable of moving my body out of this space, which is what happened to me yesterday. I would take the day away almost from, sounds bad in retrospect, no, it's fine. I would take the day away from my parenting day and say, oh no, I have to now work on the weekend. That day that I missed working in the week, I now have to do on the weekend. And my wife would take Rupert, and that would be fine. That's how we did things. Now there are 3 of them. It just doesn't seem fair and right to do that. So instead, if I miss a working day, I have missed a working day and we have to take the financial hit, and then I keep the family days and family hours childcare that I would have been doing. And it isn't necessarily that we're in a more financially comfortable position now. I think it's just that I also need the main person in my life to survive and be okay. Making her do an extra day of childcare is not the way to do that. Still figuring it out though. Still figuring it out. I'm bad at talking about bad things. I can't help but try and be positive. I think there are a lot of positives to being a parent with a chronic illness. I think some of those things are learning to let go of perfectionism, learning to let go of being the very best parent you can possibly be, and instead focusing on being good enough and keeping your children alive and happy. And that's great. And you don't need to have a photograph of them in a pumpkin because it's October. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, that's fine. But you know what? They're really happy. They're really great. They're doing really well. They nap really well. They sleep really well. They eat really well. Those seem like important things. You focus more on doing things that your child really loves and they really care about, and the cuddles and the snuggles and the meaningful stuff, and recognizing that it's okay if there are also other people. Take care of them. You're still their parent. They still love you. Children who go to school don't love their teacher more than they love their parent. And someone's back from school. Okay, I have to say goodbye now because obviously I've been joined by a small person who is very happy and knows he is very loved. Thank you for watching, and thank you to Incogni for sponsoring this video. Take your personal data back with Incogni. Just use code Jessica at the link below. That's incogni.com/Jessica to get 60% off an annual plan. Oh, you want to press the thing, huh? Oh, okay. Go on then. You can press the red button one. Thank you. Goodbye.